2021, man. It's been a wild year. And there's still time left. There's still about 4 months left in 2021. Who knows what is going to happen next in professional wrestling? Happy Labor Day, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed your Labor Day holiday. This is Skylar Sigdaddy Sigmund, and this is Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. And today it will be the AEW All Out review. Haven't done one of these in quite a while, so I gotta shake the bugs off, get the rust off a little bit, dust the old review cap off, and put it back on for this AEW All Out pay-per-view. And boy, we did have some headlines for this show, and they didn't just make normal headlines; they made national headlines. You see it on ESPN and SportsCenter. I'll get more into those in a little bit, but man, being a wrestling fan is so much fun now. Just so much fun. And personally, AEW, if it weren't for AEW, my love for professional wrestling probably would have went away. I'm just saying, period, point blank. That has rejuvenated my love for professional wrestling. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This will probably be a dead horse I'll be beating for the rest of time. Well, for the rest of the time of this podcast. Wait, man, I can't talk today. Podcast's existence. But I don't want to waste too much time talking about this, but 100th episode coming your way here next week. Jeremy's taking a break this week. I'm giving him the week off for this week, getting us set for episode 100. I'll keep you updated on that here in the coming days. We'll figure out what we're going to do for episode 100. It will surely be something special. But let's get this going. This AEW pay-per-view. Man, oh man. This had a lot of hype coming into it, really based on one name and one name alone, and that was the return of CM Punk after being gone 7 years. Over 7.5 years from professional wrestling. If you remember, his last match was in January 2014 at the Royal Rumble. We'll talk about his return a little later on in this episode. In this AEW All Out 2021 pay-per-view review took place at Hoffman Estates, Illinois, at the Now Arena. Big card here on AEW All Out. 10 matches. One of them was called off. Andrade El Idolo and Pac. They were supposed to be on this pay-per-view, but travel issues affected Pac. And so it'll take place on Rampage this coming Friday. It all started out on the buy-in with a 10-man tag. And it was Jurassic Express, the Jurassic Express Best Friends versus HFO. So Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Wheeler Yuta, HFO, Matt Hardy, Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, Angelico, and Jack Evans. And basically the gist of this match was everyone got their stuff in. Pretty much this was, in my opinion, this was the definition of everyone getting their stuff in. And by the end of it, Jungle Boy catches a diving Cassidy when he was on Luchasaurus' shoulders. He already ducked somebody doing a crossbody, but Jungle Boy catches him, does a fall-away slam, like almost a Spanish Fly-like move, off of Luchasaurus' shoulders. It was freaking insane. And then Marco Stunt, he gets involved after the Blade gets involved, so he jumps onto Blade. Jungle Boy locks in the snare trap on Angelico. It's a tap out. Luchasaurus, Jurassic Express, and the Best Friends, Wheeler Yuta, Chuck Taylor, and Orange Cassidy get the win. But after the match, it was Butcher returning, and he lays out the HFO lays out everybody. The Varsity Blondes, Dark Order, Dante Martin, and Jurassic Express return to make the save on the Best Friends. And this looks like a continuation of this feud. But it's cool to see Butcher back. Butcher's been gone quite a bit. But my opinion of this match, it was a nice little spot fest to get everybody hyped for the pay-per-view coming up. I'm going to give it a B- grade. And it was just a fun spot fest. A lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of moves. Lots and lots of moves. But high energy affair to get things started with the pre-show. Not the kickoff, but it was the buy-in, as AEW likes to call it. And in the main show, it kicked off with a slobber knocker, as JR likes to say it. Eddie Kingston and Miro for the TNT Championship. And the story around this match was Miro's neck. Eddie Kingston prefaced it in his pre-match promos where Miro's weakness is his neck. And there was a focus on this match along with Eddie Kingston's back during this. But late in the match, Miro gets game over on Eddie Kingston. Eddie fights it. He won't quit, gets to the rope. Eddie's getting good support here. The crowd was very into Eddie for this. Eddie Kingston's just golden, man. He can talk his ass off. But Miro gets mad after Eddie Kingston gets the rope. Kingston then hits the spinning back fist DDT. Remsburg, moments before that, moments before that, Miro or Kingston pulled off the turnbuckle pad, and so Remsburg was putting on the cover while Kingston was hitting the big moves, the spinning back fist and the DDT, and it only got a 2 count. It got a long 2 count. Eddie Kingston's going for the pile driver, knees Miro to the face, tries to put him in the turnbuckle. Remsburg stops him from from Kingston putting Miro's head into the exposed turnbuckle. And then while the ref's distracted, mule kick to the nuts by Miro, roundhouse, and then a running Machka kick ends things. But really, before the distraction finish, really good stuff from these guys. Hopefully they can do this match once again, because Eddie Kingston kind of got screwed in this situation. And so this might give us a reason for an actual rematch. Hopefully just not like 8 rematches like another company does. But a really good opener, honestly. Really good opener with a good story surrounding the neck of Miro, because Eddie Kingston was attacking the neck the whole entire match. And a good story with Kingston's back. Really good opener. Crowd was really into it. I'm going to give it a B. Up next was former IWGP World Champion Satoshi Kojima versus Jon Moxley. I almost found this kind of an odd placement in the card, but really once I watched the rest of the show, it made a lot of sense, because these guys, the way this card was laid out was one of the most well laid out cards I have ever seen from top to bottom. And it just, everything did its job. It accomplished what it needed to accomplish. This was another hard-hitting affair from Moxley and Kojima. Kojima at one point does hit a lariat on, the ripcord lariat on Moxley, but I think Excalibur made the point that it was with his bad arm, with not the correct arm. And so Mox then ducks a German. Mox then tries to knock Kojima down with a clothesline. Didn't work. Knee to face by Moxley. Kojima then counters a paradigm shift again. Moxley goes for the paradigm shift at least 3 or 4 times in this match before. I was mentioning earlier with the ripcord lariat followed by a Kojima cutter. Then they trade shots. Rolling elbow by Kojima. Nasty rebound clothesline by Mox, his signature rebound clothesline. The bulldog choke. Kojima eventually gets the ropes. Kick to the chest of Kojima. Kojima catches the kick, chops to the neck, ducks lariat, paradigm shift quickly. Like he hits a snap one pretty quickly and then goes for a second one, gets that, ends things, and really another good hard-hitting match. And I liked how the story they were trying to tell with Mox trying to hit the paradigm shift. He couldn't get it. Kojima had an answer for it multiple times, but once he hit it quickly, he hit that second one and it was game over. I'm going to give this one a B. Post-match, man, another crazy thing happening. We're going to see it this week on Dynamite. So what happens post-match? Mox is celebrating. He's celebrating his win. Music hits. And all of a sudden, he sees the name Minoru Suzuki come up on the board. And his eyes light up. Like, his eyes get white. Like, he was, oh no. Because Minoru Suzuki has a reputation of being an absolute badass. And this dude's 50 plus years old. 50 plus years old, and he's still killing it in New Japan. And Suzuki comes down, stares down Mox. They trade shots, heavy shots. Rear naked choke from Minoru Suzuki. Gotch style pile driver to Mox. Holy bleep. Holy bleep. And we're getting this next week on AEW Dynamite. Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley. For free on TV. Gosh. I'll continue to say this. Wrestling's great. Wrestling's great. But it's just, Mox looks like somebody's trying to take down different Japanese wrestlers. So he took down Kojima. Next, it's Minoru Suzuki. Is this setting up for Tanahashi eventually? Because that's who he was supposed to face at All Out. So hopefully this is kind of leads to a story of Mox finally getting to Hiroshi Tanahashi. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to see it. Up next, we got our Women's Championship match, the AEW Women's World Championship, with Brent Baker versus Chris Statlander. I was going to let you know the times on the first three matches. 9:25 for the pre-show match, 13 minutes, 22 seconds for Miro and Eddie Kingston, and then 11:50 for Mox and Kojima. None of these lasted overly long on these first three. Next one was Brent Baker defending against Chris Statlander, and these ladies had a really good match. Period, point blank. But at one point, later in the match, Statlander goes up for Area 451 and misses. Britt gets the lockjaw for a second. Crossface, transitions into a crossface. Stat then powers out, slams Britt face first. Scissors kick by Statlander for a near fall. Then a pendulum moonsault on the outside, misses. Step up curb stomp off the steps to Statlander. Statlander barely beats the count after Orange Cassidy just screams at her to get up. He was ringside, as well as Jamie Hayter and Rebel on Britt Baker's side. Britt then looks to lock in the lockjaw. Statlander gets her spider crab, which is that's a pretty interesting submission to say the least. Britt kicks her way out of it, then kicks to the face of Statlander in the corner. Referee Paul Turner gets pushed away. Baker heads to the second rope, and she hits a Panama Sunrise, but I think Excalibur called it a Pittsburgh Sunrise. Might have been Excalibur, may have been Tony Schiavone, one of the two. But she hits the stomp again, does Britt. Statlander kicks out again. Britt gets angry. Lockjaw is locked in. Statlander has no choice but to quit, which resulted in a really good match from these two. Really good match from Britt and Statlander. One of the better matches I've seen from the women in quite a while. Went 11 minutes and 34 seconds. Britt retains. And really, Statlander looks pretty strong here because she took all of Britt's offense. All of Britt's offense. She took multiple stomps from Britt, and eventually she had to succumb to the lockjaw. She took a Panama Sunrise, a Pittsburgh Sunrise, as they like to call it. But Britt looked good. Statlander looked really good. This was one of the better women's matches I've seen this year in AEW. Really good stuff from the ladies. I'm going to give it a B+. Then we get a promo from Andrade talking about his upcoming match against Pac on Rampage this week. And following that, Man, I took in-depth notes. Honestly, I took in-depth notes on each match for a while. And then I got to this match, and I'm like, you know what? There is no way I'm going to be able to keep up with what's going on. And honestly, the show is much more enjoyable if I don't take a bunch of notes, because I actually can really focus in on the show and see and watch it. And boy, I did not regret my decision there, because we had the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros fighting for the AEW World Tag Team Championship inside of a steel cage, and the only way to win was to win by pinfall or submission. And if you're familiar with the Young Bucks and Lucha Bros having matches together, if you're not familiar, go check out their stuff from All Out 2019. Check out their stuff from Double or Nothing 2019. These guys consistently put out bangers. It's like nothing. These guys can wrestle each other every day of the week and twice on Sundays. They are just that good. And they've put on a couple of classics before. This was no different. No different. I didn't know if the Bucks were going to lose the tag titles here, and they did, which was surprising, and I popped pretty hard for it. I don't know how long this is, because what happens later in the night, you know what, baby. But, yeah, it was so good. And what AEW's commentators do a really good job of is to talk about the history of matchups. Talk about injury history. They mentioned this in the Miro Eddie Kingston match. The choke. I think Eddie Kingston's neck or whatever. Something like that. I forget what exactly it was, but they but they mentioned it. And I'm like, okay, I love it when commentary does address the history. They talked about the Escalera de Muerte match for the AAA tag team titles at All Out. And oh my gosh, Nick Jackson, I think he was trying to be Hulk Hogan. He was trying to be Hulk Hogan here with his facial hair, because he had it dyed, some of it black. It was like the goatee, he had it dyed black, and the rest of it was blonde or something. It was something completely odd and looked absolutely ridiculous. Which I get, that's what they're going for, because they have the mutton chops on Kenny Omega. He has the Lemmy, as they like to call it. Triple H had it at one time, but yeah, Nick Jackson had some wild facial hair, but it did not take away from what was a classic match. And the thumbtack shoe came into play for the Young Bucks. The good storytelling, Penta getting in front of his brother, saving his brother from destruction from the Bucks, and it ends up climaxing into a really good finish. And you just got to go out and see it. I can't even describe it for you, because there was just so much great stuff in this that you just have to go out and watch it for yourself, because it was so good. And these guys, there was one time where I think Rey Fenix ran off the cage and ended up into a arm drag. He's unbelievable. Penta is so good as well. He doesn't get credited enough as a part of that team, because he is just solid. Rey Fenix is maybe the more flashy one, but Penta, man, he is solid. And it was an emotional end as a dropkick double team takes Nick Jackson off the stage. There's a Hurricane Rana. Actually, never mind. That was my notes as I was beginning to write notes for the match, and then I stopped, like I said earlier. So I just stopped. But the end of the match really came when Phoenix hit a crossbody off the top rope after knocking Nick Jackson off. It was onto Nick and Matt with Penta there too to catch him. It was like 20 feet up in the air. Rey Fenix hits the crossbody. They hit their combo finisher, does Rey and Penta. And they win the AEW World Tag Team Championships finally. These guys were long overdue. I didn't think they were going to win it, honestly. I was surprised, but it made me pop. And honestly, just go out and check this match out. Classic steel cage match. And it was a great moment after the match with Penta and his family. It was wonderful. A+. These guys cannot deliver a bad match. I don't know how it's even possible. I hope this doesn't end with the Bucks winning the tag team titles here relatively soon, because I'm getting this slight feeling that the Bucks are going to win the titles once again. Hope not, but you know what? It's fine. This is a great moment, and this match will live on for quite a while, because this is one of the best matches I've seen of the year, period, point blank. This went 22 minutes and 5 seconds. Great stuff. Lucha Bros, Penta El Cero Miedo, and Rey Fenix win the AEW World Tag Team Championships, ending the Bucks' reign that started at Full Gear back in November last year. So it was about a 10-month reign for the Young Bucks. Go out and check this match out. You will not regret it. Up next, we had the Casino Women's Battle Royale, and it's a pretty good battle royal. It wasn't like anything blow away, but I enjoyed it as well as I can enjoy battle royals. It's not my cup of tea typically. The only battle royal I really get into is like the Royal Rumble, but this was a pretty solid one. Jade Cargill looked good. Nyla Rose looked good. Those two ended up eliminating each other at one point, but what the headline is coming out of this match is definitely going to be Ruby Soho being the Joker, but there was one little bugaboo I had, a couple little bugaboos here I had with this match, and that was Riho and Shida getting eliminated pretty early. Those two are former AEW Women's World Champions, and they got eliminated completely early. That's kind of what I've been confused about, is the booking of those two, especially Shida recently, because she was the world champ for over a year, and now she's kind of just fallen by the wayside, and she's only featured on Dark or Elevation. One of the two. I don't watch those typically, but yeah, it just kind of baffles me with the booking of her. But this was a solid battle royal. Cargill looked good. Nyla Rose looked good. Ruby Soho ends up being the Joker. Thunder Rosa's in the final three with Nyla Rose, Ruby Soho, and Thunder Rosa. And after Nyla Rose is eliminated, there's a 2-minute fight on the apron where Soho pushes Rosa into the post, and she hits the kick and wins the thing. Ruby Soho, man, she got a huge pop when her music hit. The Rancid music, the aptly named Ruby Soho song, Ruby Soho, and the fans gave her a good pop, and you could just see the emotion. She was so happy and looked like she was right at home, and it was cool to see her. Underutilized talent in WWE for sure. But now she is in AEW, and she is the number one contender for the AEW Women's World Championship. And while Thunder Rosa did lose this match, we kind of know the end game of this. Maybe the end game of Britt's title reign could be Thunder Rosa. That's gonna be a match they're gonna save for later, as I've read somewhere. I don't remember where, but it seems like they're trying to save that match for later on. But Thunder Rosa, Brent Baker will definitely happen at some point or another again, because those two had a classic unsanctioned lights out match on Dynamite a while ago where both of them bled, which is crazy to see. But I'm going to give it a B- this Battle Royal. Battle Royals aren't my cup of tea, but I think it accomplished what it needed to accomplish, like every single thing on this show did. But great moment. Ruby Soho wins, and we'll see what happens with her and Britt Baker coming up here soon. Then we get MJF versus Chris Jericho. 1 second before that, though, the Ruby Soho win in the Battle Royal. It was a 22-minute match. MJF versus Chris Jericho was next, and if he loses, he will never wrestle in AEW again. And I thought this match had a good story. Man, the crowd was really into this. But one thing the crowd wasn't into, or was completely confused about, was the guitar entrance for Chris Jericho. So they had Fozzie's guitar player come out and play Judas, and fans could not get in line. They couldn't get with the music because they I just guess they're so used to the lyrics being played on there that they couldn't follow the guitar. I don't know what it was, but it took them forever to even catch on, and it still didn't really catch on. It was kind of a miss there with that. But other than that, this match didn't miss. This match was really good, and the crowd was really, really into it. I thought this feud's kind of been dragging along, I think. It's kind of gone on for too long, but still, the fans got really into it. They did a great false Dusty finish at the end of this when MJF hits Jericho with Floyd and then hits a Judas effect on Jericho after Hager and Wardlow are fighting back to the back. And MJF pins Jericho after the Judas effect, but Jericho gets his foot on the rope. I think at the literal last second, he gets his foot on the rope. And then Jericho eventually wins the wall with the walls. MJF did a really good job selling. I didn't see the entirety of this match as I was in the back. I had to go to the bathroom at some point during this 4+ hour show. But I thought they did a good tease with Jericho losing. But they had Paul Turner come out, correct Aubrey, and they ended up restarting the match. MJF, terrific job of selling. Sorry, I coughed there. Selling. MJF did a really good job of selling the back. Overall, for that match, I am going to give it a B+. And I really think the crowd reaction in the Jericho MJF match elevated it from a B. But definitely one of the better Jericho matches we've seen from him this year. Up next was the return of the best in the world. CM Punk taking on Darby Allin. Absolutely love the skateboard, face-off skateboard for Darby. And this was a WWE style match, really. As the way it was worked, it was kind of a slowly bring Punk back into the mix here. Punk was wearing pants this time. He was wearing tights. It's kind of a different look. I think I can get used to it, but yeah, Punk was wearing tights, and it was a deliberately paced, smartly paced match. Now everything has to be the same, like wild, fast pace. This was a good little change of pace, slow down, just like the Jericho one was. Good storytelling, and they worked deliberately. And then Punk got to hit his signature stuff at the right times. Darby didn't lose anything in defeat here. It was a really, really solid match. At one point, Darby gets GTS'd out of the ring. But after Darby was trying to go for a poison rana at the end of the match, he hits a go to sleep in the middle of the ring, and Punk gets the W. And I just thought it was a really solidly worked match. Good way to introduce CM Punk back into the fold. He'll get to that point where he can deliver bangers eventually. 7 years is a long time. He looked hella good for being gone for over 7.5 years. So you got to give him a lot of credit for what he did, going out there and having a really good match. Darby helped him as well. So you can't have a good match without a good dance partner. Darby's been a really good dance partner for everybody these past few years, and he didn't lose anything in losing to CM Punk, a wrestling legend. But B+, I'm going to give this match. Definitely a really good match as well. And the only thing I could say about this match was that kind of the crowd fell in and out of it at some certain times. But we'll get there with Punk. I thought this was a good first match back for him. B+ grade. After the match, Punk and Sting shake hands. And then he shows Darby respect, kind of helping him up, shaking hands. Darby loses nothing. And we move on to our semi-main event with Paul White taking on QT Marshall. While people are going to complain about this match, it made perfect sense where it was placed in the card. Because, just hear me out here. Before I get into that second, Punk and Darby went 16 minutes, 40 seconds. Jericho, MJF went 19 minutes and 30 seconds. Jericho and MJF had a brawl outside the ring during their match. But, Jericho went 19 minutes, 30. Punk and Allin went 16 minutes, 40 seconds. This next match only went 3 minutes and 10 seconds. This served its purpose. This served as a bridge between the Allin Punk match and the main event between Kenny Omega and Christian Cage. This had to exist because you know why? Because the crowd would have been even more burnt out at this point. Because if you remember WrestleMania 18, Hogan and Rock, that was the semi-main event, and nothing could follow it. But you put Triple H and Chris Jericho after it, and it didn't work. It didn't work. So they did a good job of bridging between CM Punk and Darby Allin and Christian Cage and Kenny Omega with this Paul White QT Marshall match. It was nothing offensive. It was a squash as it should have been. QT gets pinned after a choke slam, and it served its purpose perfectly. It didn't go too long, didn't overstay its welcome. 3 minutes and 10 seconds is definitely long enough for that match. And so we got a satisfying ending to the match, and who knows what QT does next. We'll see, but C+ grade for me, served its purpose, which led us into our main event of the evening. Christian Cage taking on Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. And these two just had a really good professional wrestling match. Really good professional wrestling match. They went 21 minutes and 20 seconds. Christian Cage got a 2 count off a kill switch. Don Callis distracts the ref, gives Kenny an opening to hit a one-winged angel off the middle rope because Christian had him set up for the kill switch on the middle rope. So Callis comes up there, distracts the ref. It gives Kenny enough time to recover, hits the one-winged angel from the middle rope, and he retains the AEW World Championship. While this did lack drama because we kind of knew the result coming in, we didn't think Omega was going to lose the title. We all are feeling like the end game is going to be Hangman Adam Page winning the AEW World Championship at All Out. It could be wrong. Circumstances do change, but because there's some pretty big stuff happening. Pretty big stuff happening unless you've been living under a rock the past 24 hours. Anyway, really good match from Omega and Christian. The interference made sense. Could be getting a bit overdone at times, but still didn't take away from what was a really good match. B+ grade from me for the Omega Christian match for the AEW World Championship. Post-match, Kenny Omega says something along these lines. These guys, the only people that exist that can beat me are not here, already retired, or dead. And then the lights go out after the beatdown on Jurassic Express and company as Christian Cage was getting beat down post-match by the Elite. And lights go out, and Adam Cole, baby, shows up. Huge pop from the Chicago crowd. People were just assuming Daniel Bryan was showing up that night, on Sunday night. And I was thinking there was a possibility Adam Cole was. I didn't know if they were going to do both at the same time. I was certainly not going to bet on both showing up at the same time, same night. But it did lead to something. Well, Bryan Danielson, his name is now. But Adam Cole shows up, and he teases not joining. He teases helping out these Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. But no, he doesn't. He super kicks Jungle Boy, joins his Elite brethren, after he's been resurrected after being killed off of being the Elite 4 years ago. And they share a kiss with the Bucks, kiss him on each cheek, and Omega kisses him on the top of the head, the back of the head. Adam Cole states that the Elite are the most dominant faction in professional wrestling history. And then you hear the beginning of the Flight of the Valkyries. It's Bryan freaking Danielson showing up as well. Man, the hits just keep a-coming. Huge pop for that. Ends up in a standoff between the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, along with Christian Cage and Bryan Danielson. And they're facing off against Cole, the Bucks, and Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega cowers out and leaves, and which ends up being Nick Jackson on an island by himself with Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. The first time wrestling in another company, first time appearing in another wrestling company in over a decade. He's been with WWE since like 2010. This is just unprecedented waters we're heading into, ladies and gentlemen. It's just fantastic stuff. He hits Nick Jackson with the running knee, and that's kind of our close to the show for AEW All Out, and my goodness, what a show this was. My goodness, we got the Ruby Soho debut. We got Minoru Suzuki taking on Jon Moxley next week on Dynamite. We have Ruby Soho taking on Brent Baker. We have a potential feud between the Elite and Daniel Bryan, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and Christian Cage. We have a potential feud for that. Oh my gosh, so many things are setting up here. So many things. Maybe a potential matchup with Kenny Omega at some point or another. Imagine that. Bryan Danielson taking on Kenny Omega. Maybe Bryan Danielson versus Adam Cole. Who knew that both of these debuts were going to happen this evening? Tony Khan is brilliant. Because no one saw it coming for both guys. I didn't. I certainly didn't. I thought they were holding off for the New York City one at Arthur Ashe Stadium. I thought they were going to hold off, like maybe Danielson for that. But no, they brought everybody out. And maybe there's another ace up Tony's sleeve, because I don't think he's got a lot of aces so far. And everything is hit so far. He is bringing stars into this company that can really help move the needle for him. People need to hold off, though. People need to really hold off on saying, oh, this is going to be ratings competition for WWE. Let's see what happens here in the next weeks, the coming weeks. Competition's there. I just don't know how big of competition it's going to be. It's going to be a hard monster to take down. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time, I think. But with the star power they have right now in AEW, it's going to move the hardcore fan. Oh, if Adam Cole, like the NXT fans, I feel bad for NXT fans right now. I really do. Because they lost their biggest star. They lost the guy that moves the needle for them. Tony Khan said that was the guy they feared most during the supposed Wednesday Night Wars. But he was the guy they feared most, and now he's on their team. What is going to happen with NXT's ratings with this NXT reboot? Because Adam Cole's not going to be there. Who's going to be the ratings draw for NXT? I really don't. I'm really curious, because Samoa Joe's the only major star they have on that show now. Johnny Gargano is, I think his star is kind of worn off a little bit. He's still a fantastic professional wrestler, but ever since his babyface run, he's kind of cooled off, I think, in my opinion. But we'll see how it rolls. But with the way they're going to portray NXT now as kind of they're trying to create their own stars and stay less focused on indie stuff, this could cause major problems for NXT. We'll see how this affects Monday Night Raw in the future. We'll see how this affects SmackDown, which it wouldn't affect SmackDown all that much because Rampage is on afterward. But we'll see how much it moves the needle for AEW moving forward. These are two big signings. These are two of the bigger indie names they've gotten. And people can knock it off with the WWE argument as it's the stupidest argument I've ever seen in my freaking life. Because these guys didn't just work for WWE. These guys both worked for Ring of Honor back in the day. Adam Cole worked in PWG. They all worked in independent companies. So, you can shut up about the WWE on it. They're sorry signing too many WWE guys. WWE guys, if you look at WWE's roster like that, it's like Ring of Honor. They have a bunch of Ring of Honor guys. AJ Styles was a Ring of Honor guy. AJ Styles was a TNA guy. Samoa Joe was a TNA guy. Samoa Joe was a Ring of Honor guy as well. Kevin Owens was a Ring of Honor guy. Sami Zayn was a Ring of Honor guy. These guys all wrestled in PWG as well. Ricochet, he was a New Japan guy. He was a PWG guy. He was every guy. He was every place kind of guy. So the argument of they need to stop signing WWE guys can just go away. And just enjoy professional wrestling for what it is. Instead of, they're purging off of WWE. They just signed a bunch of WWE guys. Knock it off and enjoy professional wrestling because it is a very cool time we are in right now. This is unprecedented waters we're in. We don't know who's going to show up when anymore. Really, we haven't had this kind of thing since the 1990s with WCW during the Monday Night Wars. You don't know who's going to show up. But AEW is doing it a lot smarter than WCW did. And wrestlers are happy in AEW. From what I've been hearing, wrestlers are really happy. They love the atmosphere there. It brought CM Punk back. A guy who hated wrestling, it seemed like. AEW is for professional wrestling. It's not sports entertainment. Sports entertainment is WWE. They don't even like the word professional wrestling, really. Professional wrestling is in AEW, and this has given people a true alternative to WWE, and there are so many other things outside of WWE you can watch. If you like deathmatch wrestling, go check out GCW. I watched a show back in, I think, July or whatever, or August maybe. It was a really good show. Really entertaining show, 2-night show. Deathmatch wrestling, if you like that stuff, go check that out. If you delve in a little bit of the wacky and still get really good professional wrestling, go check out Impact. Ring of Honor, they're starting to embrace their roots. Going back to the professional wrestling aspect of things with them. With Jonathan Gresham, he was holding the Pure Championship. Go check out other professional wrestling. If you're not getting what you want with WWE, there is so much out there. There's so much out there to find. Maybe you'll find a guy that you used to watch and it's like, oh man, I used to watch this guy in New Japan. Oh, now he's in AEW? Holy crap. Or man, I used to watch this guy in WWE. Whoa, now he's a big star in AEW. I used to watch this guy on the Independents. Go check out whatever professional wrestling you want. Whatever you want in your professional wrestling, it's some niche there in the professional wrestling world. It exists for you anymore. Go find it. Go find it because don't hate watch stuff. Just don't hate watch stuff. Because it'll bog you down mentally and kind of take away your love for professional wrestling. Just go out and find something you enjoy professional wrestling. This night on Sunday night with AEW All Out, man, it just like energized me for professional wrestling. I love it. I look forward to every Wednesday. I look forward to every Friday to watch Dynamite or Rampage. And really, I overall, for this show, grade-wise, I'm going to give this an A overall. Because you know what? This was so well laid out. And everything made sense. Pretty much. Other than little nitpicks here and there. Everything made sense. It served its purpose perfectly. Perfectly. A grade. And it was one of the most well laid out shows I've ever seen top to bottom. And I can't ask for more from a professional wrestling pay-per-view. They had one fantastic match on the show. It didn't have 800 classics, but it had one great match and so many good ones. So many good ones on this show. The best one being the classic steel cage match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. One of the best steel cage matches I've seen in quite some time. Go out of your way to check that one out for sure. The returns, man, just made me so happy. Seeing Adam Cole with his buddies in AEW. He's get to be with his girlfriend now. Adam Cole, I think's a better fit in AEW because he won't fit the Vince mold in WWE with they want big guys anymore. They don't like the small guys. AJ Styles is an exception. But they got Danielson now too, who was a WrestleMania main eventer this past year. Just think about that. Bryan Danielson is all elite. And he literally he left WWE after main eventing WrestleMania this last year. And Ruby Soho showing up. Just seeing the happiness on these guys and women's faces, it's just great to see. Great to see. This show gets an A for me. It gets an A for me. AEW All Out gets an A. This is the pay-per-view of the year. Period, point blank, bar, freaking none, no damn question about it. I'll be interested to see if anything can top this. But what a show. A grade. Check it out if you want to rewatch it. If you want to go buy it, it's worth the buy. It's worth the $49.99 you shell out. Go check it out. A grade for AEW All Out. And I hope you enjoyed this pay-per-view review of AEW All Out 2021. And if you want to keep up with me, make sure to follow me on the social medias. Twitter at Sigdaddy Wrestle, TikTok the same, Facebook at Sigdaddy Wrestle as well, Instagram at sigdaddy.wrestle. And if you like the show, make sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. It's been 99 episodes so far, and I appreciate you all listening. If you've listened early on or are just listening now, I really appreciate your support of the podcast. And with that being said, be ready for episode 100 next week. This is going to be crazy, man. 100 episodes of Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. Make sure to stay tuned. I'll keep you updated on the social medias about what the topic is going to be for episode 100. So until next time, this is Skylar, Sigdaddy Sigmund, signing off. Thanking you all for listening, and so long, everybody.